This is Mike, and welcome to episode number 208 of the EcomCrew podcast. So glad to have you guys with us today. If you want a chance to win a free membership to EcomCrew Premium, go over to ecomcrew.com/giveaway. Registration for EcomCrew Premium is closed right now, but someone's going to win a free membership this month. EcomCrew Premium gets you 4 full-length recorded classes on all kinds of things like Amazon and importing from China, things of that nature. You also get unlimited email support access to Dave and I, along with 2 webinars we do each month. One's an open Q&A. The other is a behind the scenes of our brand, or what we call our secret sauce webinar now. And finally, you get access to our private Facebook group. So go over to ecomcrew.com/giveaway to sign up for that, and good luck in the contest. Today on the podcast, we have an Under the Hood segment. I love doing these. We had a podcast listener come on and tell us about his business, the struggles he's having. But he wanted to talk about several different things. He was struggling with his conversion rate on his website, Facebook ads, emails, a whole bunch of other stuff that I think you guys are going to find interesting. I love doing these Under the Hood segments. If you want a chance to be on your very own Under the Hood, go to ecomcrew.com/underthehood.
Welcome to the EcomCrew podcast, hosted by Mike Jackness and Dave Bryant, who together run e-commerce businesses that generate 8 figures annually. Mike and Dave take pride in running a podcast that isn't just fluff, talking about specific products, problems, and real-world solutions. In the words of one of our favorite reviews, this podcast is like a playbook for e-commerce. You can take any episode and spend the next month trying to implement it. So without further ado, here's the EcomCrew.
Hey, Shervin, welcome to the EcomCrew podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And for those of you out there who aren't familiar with our Under the Hood segment, this is Under the Hood with Shervin. He's from in Australia, which is pretty cool. We have another international listener. And what we do is we interview podcast guests, give them an hour of free coaching, and then turn that into a podcast episode. So hopefully, Shervin, by the time we get done with this, you'll have a lot of takeaways.
Absolutely. And I think I will.
Perfect. So if you've listened to any of these, you know the first question I always ask is, because I'm just curious, how did you get into e-commerce?
Sure. So I was dilly-dallying with digital marketing about 3 or 4 years ago. I was mainly doing lead generation, especially through Google organic ranking and AdWords. And I heard a segment, I believe it might be on Pat Flynn's podcast with Ryan Moran about Amazon and e-commerce. And it came in kind of a good timing because I was already thinking about getting into a new business. So I sort of jumped on it and started writing down a plan on how to get started. And yeah, ever since it's been just a nice journey. So
you heard a podcast with him talking about Amazon, and that's kind of how you got into it then?
Yeah, I was exactly. So that's Amazon sort of blew my mind at the moment because I knew about it, but I didn't know about the opportunities that existed on Amazon for e-com sellers. My initial plan was to do it directly on my own e-commerce website, and that plan sort of deviated after I learn more about the sheer amount of traffic Amazon brings to the website. So I decided to launch my brand on both Amazon and the website, and say the least, Amazon has been a big chunk of that.
Gotcha. Okay. And the first product that you launched on Amazon, what was it, or is it in the same niche that you're in now, or was it something completely random and then you got into the niche you're in now, or was it something different to start with?
Yeah, no, it is the same in the same niche, and from the start about 4 years ago, this is still one of our best selling products.
Gotcha. Very cool. Okay, so let's go through some numbers. It sounds like you started in 2014, so maybe like year by year, what's your revenue been, and what's the growth been like?
Sure. So we actually started in 2015, quite late. I think the first sale we had sort of was end of July or early August.
Okay.
We finished 2015 with around $55,000, and it was a great success. It was the first year, so a lot to learn. And then 2016 took a massive jump, and we finished the year on about 310,000.
Nice.
And then 2017 started really, really well. We ended the year on 630,000, but everything started going downhill from in about August 2017, and I'm happy to talk about it. And then this year so far, 2018, we are paying the price of some of the mistakes we did end of 2017. And so far, we are around on 450,000.
Okay, so you'll probably end the year right around 500K or something like that.
Correct.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of the things that caused that down thing, because I think that people listening, at least, and we'll get to, obviously, we want to help you. It's the main topic here, but a lot of people end up going through the same mistakes. So what was some of the things that kind of precipitated that downhill year that you had?
Sure. So in about after Prime Day 2017, we were starting to, well, actually in June, we started placing all the orders for the Q4. And unfortunately, we had a couple of simultaneous problems with suppliers. There was one container that reached to the shore in US, and we realized that all the products in that container had been damaged during transport. And we were actually almost out of stock of that product already. So that was one of our best-selling products at the time. At the same time, in about August, our second and third best-selling product, they had some issues in the just before shipment when we did the inspection in China. And we decided not to ship this out and rather negotiate with the supplier and see if we can create a new batch. We eventually did so, but with this couple of mistakes, about 3 of our best-selling products being out of stock during Q4, we took a massive dip in our numbers. So yeah, it has been an uphill, but we are slowly getting there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wish that that you were the only one that's ever gone through this problem. I can tell you that I've gone through the same thing myself. So I haven't had goods. I guess I did have goods even damaged in the transit, because we had one that got mold in it. So I guess we've been through that too. So I guess I'm curious. Have you been recovering from that? I mean, like, is everything back in stock now, and sales are back to where they were or better, or are you still struggling to get back to square one? Because sometimes when you run out of product, it's tough to recover on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment we are, I think, 1 or 2 weeks away to be able to surpass the break-even point from the previous year. So I'm very hopeful. I think it's definitely going to get there very soon, and we are growing very quickly. So yes, we have recovered. However, it was a massive hit financially for us. Especially because we had, at that time, we ordered very large quantities. And by the time we got those products back into US again, our sales rank had dropped so much that we didn't sell that at that volume anymore. So we were sort of raking up inventory fees and so on. But in terms of sales, we are recovering. And I think we're only a couple of weeks away in order to even reach the point that we once were at.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, we've been through a similar situation, just like we were saying. I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's hard. It's like you're darned if you do, darned if you don't. But at least you're right on the right path, which is great. So, okay, and then let's talk about of the 500K you're going to do this year. What's the breakdown in terms of sales channels? Like your own website? Is it a Shopify? It looks like a Shopify store. Is that right?
Yes,
okay.
It is a Shopify store.
So what's your revenue split on Shopify versus Amazon?
So the Shopify, it's only a fraction of what we do. I would say maybe about 3% of what we do on Amazon. We also do have a wholesale contract, but the problem is with Shopify because that number is very low.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. And then as far as where you're looking to go from here, like what are your goals over the next year or two with this business?
I definitely want to give it, turn it into a 7-figure business. I think it has the potential to get there. And by the end of the next year, depending on how the numbers are looking, I might be looking for an exit in 2020, or if some of the conditions change, we might keep it for another 2 or 3 years. But the goal is definitely an exit, and learn from the mistakes and start something new with a bit more cash than I had when I started this business, and sort of take that to the next level again.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. All right. I think I've asked all the questions I have to kind of get me started, get me in a kind of a frame of mind of the size business you're at and the Amazon Shopify balance. I'll probably have more questions as we go through, but I want to hand over the baton to you and let you ask questions you have for us and see what we can do to help you out.
Okay, awesome. So one of the biggest problems that I've had since day one on the Shopify website is around the conversion rates on our website. And I know that this is a constantly evolving topic, and things changes as people's behaviors changes and our shopping behaviors changes. But I have been trying out a lot of different ways to improve the conversion rates on the website. Some of the initial ones were changing the theme and trying to find a theme where is much faster, has a better mobile visibility, and so on. And while that helped a little bit, not at all to the degree which I expected it to do. Aside from that, we played around a lot with different type of images on the website, review plugins, videos of our products, but nothing really seems to take the conversion rate to the levels which I think is an acceptable level for an e-commerce. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. That sort of causes a lot of other issues for us because we aren't able to pour a lot of money into external advertising, such as Facebook or Google or Pinterest, amongst other channels, just because the conversion rate is so low that financially it doesn't make sense. So I'm really trying to find some ways to improve the conversion rate of the site. And just to let you know and the readers, it's an absolute terrible conversion rate. In the last 180 days is 0.1%, which is not acceptable in this space.
Did you say 0.1 or 0.01?
No, it's 0.1 in the last 180
okay,
days.
So 0.1, 0.1% conversion rate.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the site here. I mean, I'm actually surprised that it's that low because the site looks good. I mean, I don't know what the previous version was, but overall the site looks good. The things that I see as a bigger challenge and how maybe to get the conversion rate up. We talked about it's okay to disclose this is something that's in the pet space. We'll kind of leave it at that. But the products here aren't necessarily like super unique or so different that you can't buy them elsewhere. And I think that's probably a lot of the problem kind of comes in there where like on Amazon, that doesn't really matter because like let's just say you're like searching for dog leash or something. That's not something you sell. I was trying to find something here that was in the pet space that isn't that what you do. Like if it's a dog leash, it's kind of a commodity product. You're looking just to get one of these like red 6-foot dog leashes and just get it done and over with and move on. People aren't necessarily going to care about the brand or do much shopping. But if they're searching the internet and they come here and they're looking for a dog leash, they're probably if they're in that browsing pattern already, they're probably going to continue to look elsewhere to find that product. So I think that might be some of the stuff that you're having a challenge with.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we have been discussing that internally, whether we should sort of direct that traffic directly to Amazon when someone comes to our website. And we just don't want to do that due to the fees Amazon charges if we send our own traffic.
Yeah.
But I still feel, even though being a product which is very common, a 0.1% in the last 6 months is very low. And I mean, looking at the last 30 days, that drops even lower. That is 0.06%,
wow.
Which is just not acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lowest conversion rate I've ever heard. And I've seen the ones that I've seen that were this low are usually websites that look like complete crap. So I'm not really sure, exactly what's driving that, because the site, I mean, I'm looking at the homepage, it looks good. Your category products pages look good. The individual product pages themselves look good. I mean, they have some call to actions and scarcity and things of that nature like built into it. I mean, I can tell you just from an overall standpoint, the things that people care about when they're buying online, and this still proves to be true from when I did the study a couple of years ago. Number one is trust. So they're coming to a site that they never heard of. So I would be thinking of things that you could do on the homepage and maybe on the individual pages as well, but certainly on the homepage that could help build trust. You already have I haven't looked at the Our Story tab here. Let me look at that real quick. But anything that can be done to help with that. And as I'm looking at Our Story, I obviously can't read this and talk to you at the same time, but it's relatively short. If you were to go look at a similar page on colorit.com, for instance, it's a little bit more in depth and it has more pictures and shows the actual humans, not just a dog that's involved with this. I mean, again, this is a really crowded, really tough space, and a lot of the stuff is commoditized, like Me Too type products. So it's like, how are you going to differentiate yourself and also prove that you're a trustworthy brand, that the stuff that people are buying for their pets is healthy, and that they're actually going to get it, and if they have a problem with it, that you're going to be there to help them. So trust is number one. Number two is shipping. And people basically refuse to pay for shipping in e-commerce these days. They want a free shipping tier. And I had written some notes down real quick before we got on this call because I saw what you wanted to talk about. And I had actually written, it doesn't say anywhere where the shipping rates are, before you get to the cart. But I did find one spot you have it where if you go into a category page, it says it free shipping on all orders over $49. But again, if you were to look at Colorit, look at the top part of the site. It's plastered everywhere. Free shipping over $30. If I get into a category or into an actual product page here, it says, we ship your orders into California and you'll receive it between this date and that date. We accept these forms of payment, but there isn't anything here about what the shipping price is going to be, or that there is a free shipping tier. So I would say that that's another thing you can definitely work on, and I would think that would make a big difference. And the last thing is that people look at for this is returns. What's your return policy? And that's also pretty buried here. If even, I guess it's probably under information down on the footer under warranty. And that's warranty registration. So I'm not sure if you even, actually here's everything for returns under shipping. So it's a little bit buried. And if you look at, again, not to use Color as the only example, there's lots of other websites that have figured this out. Up in the top header, it's a trust thing. Here's a phone number to call. Here's our shipping prices, and if you order over a certain amount, here's your free shipping tier. It's just everywhere. And we have a thing about our return policy. And then the same thing goes for the product pages. When you're looking at the product page, right under the call to action, right under the add to cart button or somewhere around there, we have that information there again. I think that that's really important. And then we also, in the footer of the site, and also as a part of the About Us page, whatever you want to call it for that, we've put a little bit more work into that, because I think you'd be surprised that people do look at that. And in fact, you can probably even look at your analytics and see how many people are going to that site, and that can give you even a more of an indication of why you might want to put more effort into it, because our About Us page is actually a pretty trafficked site, or a page on our site. So those are some high level things that I think could help make a difference and maybe help turn the tide for you a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for the tips. One question about that, Mike. When you look at the analytics of your e-commerce websites, which website, which is a non-product or collection website, do you see acts as the top funnel, which then leads to a conversion? Would you say that's your About Us page, your shipping and return page. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think the shipping and return page is probably number one from a non-product page. I mean, that non-product, non-blog post type thing. One of these types of pages. I know that's a big one. I know About Us gets a lot of traffic. I think that what you have to look at websites as a complete package. It's if you want to kind of play with the big boys, you kind of have to have that like elite feel, and you definitely have a good looking website. It's definitely way above 50%, but I think the last bit of effort is what actually starts producing better conversion rates. And the other thing that can make a difference is where the traffic's coming from, and we haven't even gotten into that part yet. That'll probably be the next thing. But if you're getting organic traffic off of a search term like large dog leash or something, the person's going to be way more apt to buy and more in a buying mood than if they search for how to train a dog with a dog leash and they've already got the leash. You're just trying to get them to walk on it. Your conversion rate can be incredibly low when your traffic's coming in through those things. So before we move on to that part, let's just kind of wrap up the thought here on the other stuff we're talking about. Just see if you had any other questions about that.
Yeah, I've two questions. One is, have you guys tested different threshold for a free shipping? I have. We tried $39 and a $49. I didn't see a difference in that. I'm just wondering if you have seen a difference in that. And the second question would be, what tools do you use to split test your Shopify website?
Okay, so we did split test the shipping rates a long time ago. The best way to set free shipping after all the testing that we've done that I've realized is to take your average order value and set the free shipping threshold just above that. So let's just say your average order value is 23. I would set it to 25. If it was like 27, I'd set it to 30 or something, to where it forces people or inspires people to spend just a little bit more money, add that extra item in their cart. They're not going to spend just $3 more. They're going to spend $15 more or whatever your cheapest item is. And I think that's pretty important. Split testing on Shopify is difficult. It depends on like exactly what it is that you're talking about. But if it's the shipping thing, we did the best that we could over a certain period of time, measured what our shipping rates were and what our conversion rate was, and then you changed the shipping amount and then ran the numbers ourselves and looked at our traffic, our conversion rate during that time frame. And it certainly is not perfect because you run into all these like other factors from an experiment standpoint that you can start questioning yourself about, like, is this week just naturally a lower converting week because people are on vacation because it's in the middle of the summer or whatever other like weird thing it might be. It's hard to be 100% definitive, but we ran the best experiment that we could, and I don't really know. Depends on what other test you're running, but I don't really like Zipify Pages is coming out with an A/B test functionality next year in February, but I'm not sure of any other split testing besides that.
Okay, great, thanks.
I was just looking at our site, and our 6th most visited page is actually the shipping and returns page. So it gives you an idea of like just how much traffic that page can get. There's definitely people putting eyeballs on that. So I think it's important to put some effort into that and make your return policy very clear and as generous as you possibly can as a brand. Every brand, it's a little bit different. You got to be careful what your return policy is. For something like color, we can make it no questions asked, and we make fun of the fact that it's no questions asked, and say that even if you drop it in a puddle of oil or like zombies wipe their brains on it, it doesn't matter. Like, we'll take it back within 30 days because we can afford. The margins are there, and it's the type of product that their person's probably not going to destroy it or do something to it in that 30 days, and we can either then resell it or whatever, and we're okay. But like something like ice wraps, we have to be a little bit more careful because it is an FDA registered medical device. So like we can't sell a return even if it is brand new as new. So we to take a hit on anything we get returned. So we don't have a quite as liberal policy there. So that's just something you got to kind of keep in mind. When you're setting that policy.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So we were getting ready to talk about something else, and I forgot what it was. Can you remind me?
Well, it's there's one other thing with the website that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
And it's around content. So since the last 6 months or 6 months to a year, I've taken up Ezra Firestone's advice on how around content and sort of send people to or create content that engages your visitors around the topic they're interested in, and it may relate to a problem which one of your products solves. And we've started that a few months back, and we're getting a lot of traffic to that. And I would say it's probably 80% all the traffic to the website is organic, and it's sort of increasing by the day. But we haven't been able to sort of push our products when people read that. They sort of read it, they look around a little bit, and then they leave. What would be your tips around that? Is that something that you guys do? And if you do, what would be your recommendations?
Yeah, you hit something I'm pretty passionate about and I've thought a lot about, so I can definitely comment on this. So, first things first, as I was kind of mentioning earlier, like the terms that you're going after are the first thing you want to be thinking about. If you're writing content, I'm trying to think of some examples of a good example and other things that we've done. If you're writing more generic content, or let's say you run a guitar shop and you have a piece of content of how to play Hey Jude on the guitar. Well, that might solve the person's problem of like how to play the song on the guitar, and you might rank number 1 for it. But it's going to produce you almost $0 because they already have a guitar, and they're learning how to play right at that moment. They're not looking to like buy a guitar. Versus you're ranking for something like best guitar for beginners, and you sell guitars, then now you're talking about something that can be incredibly lucrative for you because you sell guitars. You're talking about like the best guitar for beginners. You educate them about all the different things that are, that you want to be looking at. And, as far as a guitar, do you want an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar? Or like what brand do you want to be looking at? Or do you want one, the budget and all that? You can get into like all kinds of amazing content that could be 5,000 or 7,000 words by the time you got done with that article. And everything in that article is basically a buying guide to like drive people to other parts of your site to make purchases. So I think that that's really important to be thinking about in terms of the things that you're going after. So looking at some of the articles that you've written here recently, without giving too much away about your brand or anything, but we mentioned it's in pets. So like one of these articles is you've lost your pet, like how to find them. And I don't know if you have something in there to sell, so I'd have to actually read the article, but versus something like how to pick, this particular product, let's say it's the best leash for dogs, again, just to use an example that isn't something you sell, that can go a long way to helping with the conversion rate, because you're writing an article where someone's in a buying mode in mind and they're doing the research at, those terms are definitely research for how to solve that problem right now, and they're looking for the best dog leash at that exact moment, and they're probably going to buy either right then and then or very shortly thereafter. But the key is, like I've looked through this article, I just don't think that it's good enough. I mean, again, I haven't had a chance to read the thing word for word, but there's one picture like up in the header, might even be a stock photo, maybe it's not, doesn't really matter, but it's just like one photo, and it's in this format that we used to do. So it used to be in this same trap of we're writing content like just to write it. It's like we've heard that writing content's an important thing. Let's go do that. And what you end up doing is like you just put words on the page to kind of put them there. And what this needs is for this particular topic, it's the most recent article on your site that's dated October 25th. It needs basically like to buy 10 competitors' products and lay them all out and like do testing of like what makes, let's just say it's back to the dog leash. Like what makes the best dog leash? Well, it's what happens if the fabric gets wet? It could be a test. The strength of the leash. Like if you have a dog like my dog, we used to have a German Shepherd that we lost earlier this year. The dog literally broke a leash once. He's so goddamn strong. Like he saw something that like triggered him. He got up. He was like laying down, and we were in the park, and the leash was in our hand, and he got up to like go chase something, and he like literally snapped the leash in half because he was just such a powerful dog. So like testing for that type of thing, and doing like going to a lab and like testing the break strength of a leash could be a thing. The hardware, does it rust? Or you have like 5 to 7 categories or something that you're comparing, and then like putting together a video and actually going through and creating an epic piece of content that legitimately is the best piece of content on that subject on the internet, and like legitimately answers the questions of people that are coming there and can break it up in more bite-sized chunks where they can more easily follow. Because most people will not, like, you might have the answers and all the things in this, but like people aren't going to read this article. Like they'll skim it, they'll read the headlines, and they move on. So I think those are the things that you need to do to take it to the next level to really get the results you're looking for.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, where we kind of create content to create content just to have it out there.
Yep.
I'm not very satisfied with the quality of these contents myself. It's not me writing them, but I do pay people to write these pieces. And you said that this is something that you used to do back in the heyday. Did you see an instantaneous sort of shift in conversion rate and engagement when you change your content strategy, focusing more on extremely helpful, or I would just say sort of the leader of content in that industry?
Yes. Not instant, but over 3 to 6 months, it was pretty profound because it took that much time for the posts to start to rank. But you can search for something like best colored pencils on Google and look for Colorit's article on this and see the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like, it was probably a 5,000 word post that had 30 or 40 images in it or something like. I mean, it's been a while since I looked at it, so my numbers might be off a little bit on this stuff. We recently just released one about markers. It was a similar thing. It took weeks for someone to produce that one piece of content. We divide a drawing up into 8 equal size chunks and then color the drawing with all 8 brands of markers or pencils, and then made categories, like I was saying, for things that we wanted to test, and then wrote up this like epic long blog post about it, and it even included competitors in the content. So then next thing you know, we're ranking for some of our competitors' keywords. There are people that were looking for competitors' brands and looking for reviews on them would come to our site and then eventually maybe buy our products. And if they went and bought the competitor's product, that's fine too, because we put an Amazon affiliate link in the article, and go buy it on Amazon, and we at least make something from that. So not only do we rank higher, but it converts and makes substantially more sales for us through those articles now.
Okay, and is this products that you purchase and send to your team in Philippines to test, or do you do that in-house?
No, we sure do. We buy them. We ask the Philippines team to give us we tell them the project that we're going to be working on, and we give them full autonomy pretty much to go pick out the products that they want. So they'll send us an Amazon shopping list, and we go buy them. Once everything's here, we send it over to the Philippines, and then they typically, it depends on the products, but we reviewed trekking poles a few months ago, and they took all 8 sets of trekking poles and went out they went on a camping trip. Like 5 of the people from the office went on a camping trip and tested them out in the wild and developed their own opinions and produced an amazing article on tactical.com about trekking poles. And in addition to the article, there's also a video. The video goes on YouTube, which helps YouTube SEO, but it also significantly helps the time on site on the actual review. Time on site's one of the biggest ranking factors now for Google. It's they're using basically they're using signals like that that you can't really game. So if they see people lingering on a page for a long time and the dwell time is high, that it probably is a good piece of content. So, I mean, we have an average time on site for tactical of like 20-something minutes. It almost seems impossible, but the content's that good where people are coming and spending an hour reading an article of ours because it's that in-depth. And that's what's kind of it's going to take I think, to win moving forward personally.
Okay, so as a starting point, moving towards more thorough content, would you recommend going straight for those very large pieces from 5,000 to 7,000 words, or would you just recommend polishing those shorter type of content from 1,000 to 2,000 words and then eventually evolve into those bigger pieces?
Yeah, I think it's best to take the existing article that you have and make it better. What'll end up happening is like the articles that you have there now that kind of fit the criteria I was talking about before will actually end up hurting your site more than helping, because like Google's looking at the body of work. And if you kind of already done some damage here, where like if you've got these articles and your time on site is relatively low, your bounce rate's high, etc. When you post new content, Google's going to just be like, this isn't a great site. We shouldn't have it ranked. So you're going to have some time to kind of get out of the sandbox. But once you do, if you can convert your articles into better articles, when you post new articles, you'll see them like just kind of float right to the top. That's definitely been our experience lately. A lot of the stuff we post is ranking within weeks now instead of months.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's move on, because the next topic is sort of a little bit related to what we just discussed, and it goes around the hiring process and especially around content writers. And I know that you are the king of this, and you also discussed this quite a lot on the blog. So I want to have a little bit different sort of spin on it.
Sure.
I have previously hired people in the Philippines, and with hit and misses. So and I always take that personal, because I believe it's my fault for not knowing better and just being able to sort of improve on the hiring process, especially. That's been the biggest downfall for myself. But we had a girl which we hired about 2 years ago, and she stayed with us for 1 whole year, and it started just amazing, and everything was really good, and I felt that the productivity was sort of going down over time, and I just kept telling myself this is my responsibility. It's not her fault. And I wanted to see how you deal a little bit with sort of the employee motivation and how you sort of increase productivity over time to make those people feel valued and being a more loyal employees, and at the same time just making them have a great day every day when they come to work. Yeah.
So you're not the only one that struggles with this type of thing. I mean, it's definitely kind of the entrepreneur's dilemma. It's especially when they're half a world away. So the just like anybody else, I mean, the guys in the Philippines love the recognition when they do something good. So we try to make sure that we're doing that. The thing that's really helped, I've talked about this several times in the podcast before as well, is having them together. Having Mia there, who's our manager, be able to oversee exactly what you're talking about. I mean, one of her goals, because this will show you how important this stuff is to us, like one of her goals is employee satisfaction. And we do an employee satisfaction survey every quarter. And if it doesn't rank high enough, she doesn't meet her goal and doesn't get paid. So, we're making sure that we're doing things like a monthly team outing. We have an award that we're giving out now once a month, recognizing people who are doing awesome stuff. We do a weekly team lunch. And unfortunately, I can't be there, but, I've been out there a couple of times, and, they kind of understand how important it is to me. And Mia does a great job of making sure that is kind of paid forward. This month, I think we did something, I forgot exactly what she did, but she went out and she always discusses this with me first, but she went out and bought some books for a couple of our employees, and like took them to the bookstore and just like let them buy a book that they wanted. Just small things that make them feel like they've been recognized, and these guys did well, actually they were all ladies, but these gals did an amazing job, and we wanted to make sure that they were recognized for it. So if you have just one employee over in the Philippines and it's like your only person, the onus is going to be on you a lot more than it would be. In my case, I'm lucky I have Mia to do a lot of that for me, and it's hard for me to spend the time doing that, even though like I'm thinking about these guys like all the time, and I really appreciate everything they do all the time. It's like it's hard to be able to communicate that and sit down and necessarily write an email. Like I might be thinking about it like while I'm in the car, or usually it's like when I'll think about it when I'm not thinking about something else. It's like my default position is to be, so it's like hard to do when you have so much on your plate like I do. But you're going to have to force yourself, right? It's like, it's got to be when they write an article, that's really good, you let them know it's really good, or, send them something that it doesn't have to be anything big. I mean, they first of all, they love food. So if you can send snacks or something, or, give them a gift card to something or whatever. A lot of times like small stuff goes a long way. And, the other thing that we've done is planned every quarter. So we every quarter we're planning things out and sitting down and meeting once a month and, making sure they're on track for all that stuff. So they have pretty definitive goals, and it's not just a bunch of, flying by the seat of your pants stuff.
Okay. That's very interesting. I think, once you have a team, of course, those things, a little bit easier than when you have a small team, although it should be possible. It just, I feel that the motivation always drops after a while. And one thing that in particular that I have realized, and this might totally be my fault, and it probably is that the work and tasks that they are working on. So with my last, the person that we had over there, we get together once a week, every Monday, same time, and sort of discuss the previous week and how the tasks that we're working on and how we're coming along. But I sometimes feel that people and the employees, and that's the employees in Philippines, they don't get very creative at tasks. So if you don't have something for them to work on, the productivity sort of comes down. And that might be totally cultural, or they don't want to do anything wrong, so they don't start new tasks. How do you deal with those situations? And do you have SOPs? And in that case, like how did it look like? So on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is definitely more kind of like the status quo in the Philippines for sure, like some of the stuff you're talking about. But we've been really lucky that we don't seem to have to deal with this. I mean, like there's definitely been some people that have come through the door that we have a problem with this, but we encourage our employees to give suggestions and be proactive and make sure they're using their time wisely. And we just had, a perfect example. Someone just from the Philippines team was actually pulling up this email because it just came through when we were on the phone here. It was a reply that I had saw from earlier, but basically, our social media managers just like, Facebook has top fan pages, a feature for badges, and we should like turn on this feature. And then also like they have this new video feature. We can like, if we can turn on this new video template and add in these videos. What do you think about doing this? Those are the types of things that our employees over there are doing. I mean, they're not just following an SOP, they're creating the SOP a lot of times, right? And like literally, I mean, like we have them actually write our SOPs. So that way when we get bigger or someone cycles through, we have an SOP. It makes it easy for the next person to be able to do that. So I think it's just a matter of looking for the right employees that, that you can find through the interview process that in the best of your judgment are going to be those types of people that will kind of follow that lead. And it's hard to know a lot of times until they're there. A lot of times people can interview really well and then disappoint afterwards. But I would say that if it's a lack of motivation issue over time, then, if they were doing a great job for the first 6 months and then after that they tail off, that's probably something that you can do personally to make that better.
Okay, great. And I also know that your team sits in a dedicated office space. What's your take on that? What did you do with your first employee, your employee from Philippines? Did you have the very first person to sit in an office? Because that's something that I would been thinking to try out. I mean, a desk in Philippines goes for maybe $150 to $200 a month, which is a fairly small amount. And I've realized sometimes with the people that I've previously hired, sometimes they overwork because they are in the home and they have nothing better to do, so they just sit and work and work and work, or the complete opposite, where they just because they work from home, they constantly get distracted. So is it possible to have one person to send to an office, and what's sort of your take on that?
Yeah. So the way that we did it, and I don't know that there's any perfect way, it definitely worked out for the best, but the way that we did it is the first person we hired, she worked from home. And she worked from home for about a year before I asked her if she was interested in the promotion. And that was Mia. You know, we hired her. She did an amazing job for a year. So we wanted to see some of the things that you were talking about, like making sure that she stayed motivated for a year and did a good job over a length of time, and really gained our trust that she was just an awesome employee, which she is and has been since day one. So we had some opportunity for quite a while to let that transpire, and we actually did it with two people, just to be honest and kind of tell the whole story. So one of them turned out to be like that superstar. The other one was actually really good, but she ended up she was living in Mexico and not in the Philippines, because she was her husband was an ambassador. So at any rate, so the one person that was doing an amazing job for a year, I actually called her up and said, look, Mia, I'm going to be coming out to the Philippines in like 8 weeks, and I'm really interested in having you open an office for us. If you're willing to do it, I can't force you. We hired you to work at home, but if you're willing to work out of an office, I'd love for you to be the one to be in charge of it and start helping us, A, find the office, and B, help us hire the people that are going to be there. Because you've done such a great job over the last, year. And we gave her a raise that was, fair to take care of this, new set of responsibilities. And sure enough, I flew out to the Philippines with my wife, and she had like 8 places for us to go look at, and we went and looked at all the different office spaces together. I had asked her to draw a circle around her house. I was like, look, I don't want you having to commute more than like 30 to 40 minutes at the most every day. We had to extend it just a little bit because she lived out in the boonies and not like in the middle of the city. So it was a little bit longer than I would have liked her to have to commute. And, so since you're the first one, like, you get to pick where the office is, as long as it's, in a spot where lots of people can get to. And it was. And, so we picked our favorite office. It was a co-working facility, as it turned out. We had looked at renting a fixed space and all kinds of other options as well. But the co-working space that we found was gorgeous. I mean, it was nicer and is nicer than our office here in the United States. The place is amazing. It's a beautiful office space. And, that's what we went with. And it's $100 and change a month. I think $125-ish a month for the seat. It doesn't come with a computer. We had to buy the computer. But it comes with internet and power and everything else. And, she also had reviews lined up for us. So when we got there, we interviewed half a dozen to a dozen people in person and hired 2 of them. So basically, when we opened the office, there were 3 people. It was Mia, who was at the time like basically a general VA, and then we hired a content writer and we hired a graphic designer, and that was like how we started the office there, basically.
Okay, great. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know it's ticking. But when you hire content writers, do you go specifically for content writers, like a general content writer, and train them in the niche that you're in? Or do you try to look for someone that has knowledge in the niche that you're in and then train them on writing good content? Yeah,
I mean, we're looking for general content writers.
Okay.
It's really difficult to find somebody. First of all, content writers are not a dime a dozen in the Philippines to begin with. So it's hard to find any content writer. So if you can find a good one, they're probably not going to be writing about your subject. It's not, there isn't as big of a pull as there is in the United States. So that's just kind of the way that we've approached it. And the things that we have for topics are not typical. It's, hot and cold, or therapy or sports type stuff, injury stuff is not a typical topic. Coloring is not a typical topic. Tactical stuff is not really a typical topic in the Philippines. So, things that they've been writing about are things that they had to learn about. And we gave them the latitude to be able to do that. It took a few months for each content writer, but they certainly have answered the challenge.
Okay, awesome. All right, do we have time for another question?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So one thing that I have some knowledge in is in terms of ranking products and a bit of AdWords. And I wanted to hear your take on and how you guys with one of your brands, or if you have pursued a strategy on trying to rank Amazon products on Google. And for some of our products, there's a massive search volume for it. But when I analyze these products, it's hard to tell what makes Google rank one product over another. And I think if we could rank our products at least in top 3, we could boost our sales with at least 30% overnight. So is that something that you guys have done? And if so, what are your strategies around it?
Yeah, so we have done it. We've been running doing some more testing on it. We haven't talked about it publicly yet, but since you asked the question, I'll tell you some of the things we're doing there. But first of all, like, you can't get a penalty, like you can't get a penguin or panda type penalty for getting too many links to Amazon, because they have so many links, and it's not your website. So like, even if you did jack something up, like the risk is, the risk reward quotient is pretty low. Like, it isn't going to hurt your own website, so you don't have to really worry about it. So I mean, you can get some pretty questionable links. I mean, you can basically just flat out buy links and send them to your Amazon page, and it doesn't take a whole lot of links to start ranking. So we've been playing around with how to get links as reputably as we can without being ridiculous, and then send them to our page, and then seeing how long it takes to start to rank for stuff like that. You can use something like SEM Moz or Ahrefs to look at the backlink profile for your competitors' pages on Amazon, see where they're getting links from, go back to those sites and ask if they'd be interested in getting some of your product for free and adding it to their articles. Been one of the things we've been looking at. But also just looking at, like, if you find a competitor that ranks number 1 on Google for a pet leash, dog leash, let's say, just because we've been using that as an example. So you type in like red dog leash into Google, and the number 1 result, and you look at the Ahrefs or SEMrush profile of that page, just that one page, and it has like 2 incoming links. Well, now all you got to basically do is get like 4 links or 5 links, and you'll probably rank above them. It's not exactly black and white as that, but it's pretty close to that.
Yeah, and I think you are right in terms of the links, definitely. And I've been analyzing a lot of different competitors, and some stuff just doesn't make sense when it comes to Amazon products ranking on Google, because some of them, they don't have any links, and they are just ranking number 1, and some other listings that do have multiple links, and they are on page 8 or 9 for the exact same keyword. So I wanted to see if there are sort of some high-level strategy in terms of playing around with the title to have, I don't know, the keywords maybe more towards the front of the keywords to be able to get those keywords into the URL, or is there anything in terms of that nature which you guys have tried and had success with?
Yeah, so I mean, Amazon SEO and Google SEO is the same here. You want the keywords to be in the front of the title anyway. So like, you're going to have that done no matter what, because that's how you want to rank on Amazon. We have played with this URL structure concept. So basically what we've done now is, when we're making a new product, we make it basically the title of the product very short. So it might be, color it red dog leash. I'm just trying, or, my pet company red dog leash as the title of the product when we first set it up, and then the URL will be my pet product dash red-dog-leash, and you get like the exact keywords that you want in the URL. And then weeks down the line, when we're ready to further develop the listing and get ready to sell it once it's starting to come in, we'll make the changes, but usually the URL will stay the same. I haven't really figured out the exact way to get existing URLs to change, so that's something we haven't really proven all the way through yet. But for new products, we've had pretty good success now getting a preferable URL when we make the product by doing that.
Okay. Awesome. I think that's all the questions that I had.
Awesome, man. Great. Well, I appreciate you coming and doing this today, and please follow up with us in the next few months as you try and do some of these tactics, and let us know how things are going.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
No worries. Have a great day.
Take care.
And that's a wrap, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed the 208th edition of the EcomCrew podcast. You can go to EcomCrew/208 to get to the show notes and comments for this episode. And again, if you want to be on your very own Under the Hood, go to EcomCrew.com/underthehood. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Again, I appreciate you guys supporting the EcomCrew podcast. You guys get me all tongue-tied. You have such good support for us. I really appreciate it. We're rounding out 2018 here. It's exciting to think about what's to come in 2019, not only for EcomCrew, but all of our e-commerce stuff. Hope you guys had a great 2018, and wish you guys all the best for 2019. Just a couple episodes left for this year. And until the next episode, everybody, happy selling, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the EcomCrew podcast. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/EcomCrew for weekly live recordings of the EcomCrew podcast every Monday. And please do us a favor and leave an honest review on iTunes. It would really help us out. Again, thanks for listening. And until next week, happy selling.